you have the White House now out with a 14-page memo trying to just make this entire story about Hunter and his dad, Joe Biden, and any potential money that was going back and forth between those guys and any sweet deals that they were doing around the world. They want that to go away. They're calling it fake news. They're calling this a fake impeachment. And they've sent out their minions onto, of course, CNN to make sure that people know, this is just bogus. They know, of course, that the more people hear about this, the more they're going to get concerned. And so they don't want you to hear about it, or they want you to hear first that it's just misinformation. Well, it's not misinformation. I've been through the bank records, for goodness sakes. I've shown some of them to you. I mean, how is it that a guy whose biggest claim to fame was he had to get kicked out of the military for drugs? I mean, how is he getting an $83,000 a month board job? Nobody gets an $83,000 a month board job over in Ukraine. Why is there nearly $20 million that was put into his accounts that we've seen? Why is NBC News reporting that $11 million went to Hunter Biden's accounts just from Ukraine alone? I mean, that is a lot of money. And we have to ask the next logical step. I mean, for goodness sakes, they went after Trump on a whole lot less. I do recall a fake dossier that was actually opposition research. So they went all the way with that thing. And yet they don't even want to bother to investigate the FD 1023 that they tried to hide, that Chuck Grassley finally got his hands on, that suggested that, yeah, indeed, there was a little there between Hunter and Dad. And according to that source, who was a highly trusted human source who had worked in the Obama administration, there's some 17 tapes, he said, or she said, forgive me, we don't know the source, some 17 tapes of Joe Biden apparently negotiating this whole thing. It's like, mobster city. Anyway, the media isn't supposed to report on this because you know what? They don't want you to. In fact, you might be in trouble if you report on it. Because don't forget, according to the president from just a few minutes ago when he spoke, it is in fact Republicans through these actions that are putting our entire democracy at risk. Listen.
For all the time they spend attacking me and my plan, here's what they never do. They never talk about what they want to do. No, think about it. They tell you what they're against. What are they for? It's like they want to keep it a secret. I don't blame them. Well, today I'm going to talk about their plans. Look, we're going to talk about the MAGA Republican Economic Plan. And by the way, this is not your father's Republican Party. This is a different deal, all kidding aside. We've all worked with Republicans on the other side over our careers and become good friends, honest, decent people. Disagree like hell with them, but they were in the deal. They thought the institutions mattered. They thought it mattered. Well, guess what? Our democracy is at risk because I don't think they do think it matters anymore.
Yeah, you just keep saying that, right? And the more you keep saying that, the more pressure you put on news organizations and others to totally squash and suppress one side of the story. I mean, heck, you guys did it. 51X spooks. Bunch of hacks came out and said, oh, Hunter Biden laptop, that's just misinformation. I do remember that letter, don't you? I mean, you even had the former deputy director of the CIA, for goodness sakes, saying it was nothing but a bunch of misinformation. Rudy Giuliani was being fed from the Russians, when in fact, no, the FBI and the IRS were investigating Hunter Biden for all the things that they don't want us to talk about right now. Well, I find that kind of troubling. And you know what else? The reason they don't want us to talk about it is because the more we talk about it, the more people might just actually believe it. Let me share with you a poll that came out like 2 days ago on CNN, and you see the reporter here describing how the majority of the country does think there's a little there. Watch.
We're talking about, Dana, here, the time when he was vice president, right? Whether Joe Biden was involved in Hunter Biden's business dealings at the time he served as vice president. Overall, if you look here, 61% of Americans think Joe Biden was involved. You can see partisanship drives this, right? Obviously, nearly all Republicans, 90%, believe that. This has been a major storyline and talking point on Fox News and elsewhere. 64% of independents believe that Biden was involved in Hunter's business dealings. 28% of Democrats. And I want to show you, of that 61% overall there that believe he had dealings, 42%, Dana, think that Joe Biden acted illegally when he was vice president in those business dealings. 38% say not involved. 18% said he acted unethically but not illegally. But that is a significant number as well.
Yeah. Yeah, it is significant when 61% of the country thinks that your son did something kind of bad and that maybe you were involved. So you see the White House is now going into the war room, effectively. And they're like, okay, we got to get a handle on this. Well, how do we get a handle on this? Well, first of all, we need to change the narrative. So let's send out a threatening letter saying, okay, here's 14 pages, and we're just going to go through their points one by one. I read the entire thing, and none of it fully refutes anything. I mean, it is not misinformation that there's an FD 1023. That exists. What I would say is somebody's got to go and talk to the CEO and the CFO of Burisma and talk again to the human source with whom the FBI conducted that interview and get more information. So you can tell me all day long, Joe Biden and company, that no, there's no evidence of any financial records in terms of anything going direct into Joe Biden's account. But heck, why would there be? I mean, I know he's dumb, but hopefully he's not that dumb, right? He's not that dumb. No, you send it everywhere else. You see, you get a few things that you might call a smoking gun. You get that text. Remember that text from Hunter Biden to his daughter, Naomi, saying, hey, you know what? It's not easy taking care of this family. I wish I got a little respect. I've been doing this, financially providing for the last 30 years. But here's the good news, hon, basically. You won't have to give me 50% of everything you earn like Pop does to me. So that's one. And then you get that other little text where he's like sending a threatening message. My dad and I are sitting here and we're wondering why Zhang, this is his contact over in China, who actually had some affiliation with the CCP. Hey, why you haven't sent the money? That money better be there, or I'm going to make sure the guy I'm sitting next to, i.e. my dad, and everyone he knows just how awful you are. Okay, so you get a few things that actually would be concerning, but the White House doesn't want you to know that, which is why Karine Jean-Pierre refuses to take questions on this, and Mr. Ian Sams is over on his favorite network. Well, one of them. I'm sure he likes MSNBC better. He has to go on CNN because they're taking a little more convincing, apparently, and he says this.
Well, again, I think this is part of the right wing's misinformation machine to try to confuse people about what the truth is. The truth is that the president, as he has said publicly for years, calls his family every day to check in. He calls his son every day to check in. He calls his other family members to check in to see how they're doing. He loves them. They're a tight-knit family. And what the GOP's own witness testified in this case is that that's exactly what the president was doing. He was checking in with Hunter during a particularly hard time, I might add, a time where the family was going through Hunter's brother Beau's illness. And of course the president checks in with his son and talks to him. But again,
so it's therefore just misinformation if you want to suggest anything else. God help you. God help you if you do. Hey everyone, Trish Regan here. If you enjoyed that clip, please do me the favor of subscribing to the channel. Just hit that little subscribe button right over there. Did I do that right? Not quite, but you know where it is. Subscribe to the channel, hit the bell so that you get the alerts, and I'll see you back on the show.